Do you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's podcast time. Yeah, dig it? The Dynasty Podcast is brought to you by Jube's Family Restaurant. Family owned and operated since 2002. Jube's Family Restaurant's gourmet pizza and fresh food seafood is better than dirty, dirty sex. Get your ass to Jube's Family Restaurant and don't forget to tip your fucking waitress.
It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the assholes on the Dynasty tonight. That's right. It's time to put on makeup. It's time to dress up right. It's time to raise the curtain on the Dynasty tonight. Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's like some kind of torture to have to watch the show. And now let's get things started. Why don't you get things started? It's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, sexuational. This is what we call the Dynasty Podcast.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to episode number 1 of the mock draft dish of the Dynasty Podcast. Coming to you from Tom Berkowitz Trucking, Riverdale Studios. This is Commissioner Eric Costanza. And of course, co-hosting with me for a second straight season, Bubba Palucha.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for that wonderful, kind introduction.
You are very welcome. And Bubba, love us or hate us, we are back.
We're back!
We're back, bitches.
Back!
So this is the third season of the Dynasty Podcast, but this is the second year in which you, Bub, are co-hosting here
Correct.
with me. I think that's what really kind of turned the page,
Kicked it up a notch.
Yeah, really better the show.
Threw the horse over the fence.
Don't think that's an analogy, Bub, but that's okay. That will be many analogies this year that have no relevance to anything at all. But, Bub, I'd like to thank you. I'm not going to thank each and every show. I'm going to tell you that right now.
You can.
We may even disagree at times. I hope we do. There may be times that we, spat upon each other throughout the season.
Like
we spit on each other, absolutely. But I'm going to thank you right now. You're very reliable. You obviously, like doing this. We have fun together, and it's fun to do this together, and it's good times. Thank you. Thank you for your
joyous times.
Joyous times. So let's talk about, while we're on the topic of the show, the Dynasty Podcast. This is our first show, the Dynasty 10 season. Let's talk about some of the new things, some of the new upgrades that are going to take place in the show this season. And a lot of these things are actually your ideas. I'd like to give you the kudos for that. But the first thing is, as you already heard, we have a new little intro to the show, which I think is wonderful, Bob.
Splendid.
It's very
splendid.
Yes, I got
joyous times.
I got jiggy with it. Is what happened. We'll have some new little jingles throughout the season. Might surprise you at times. But the two main things are, and I'll let you speak to them, Bob, and maybe tell us what they are and why you think that they'll work and be good and fun. The Call the Dynasty Podcast team segment. I know it was talked about in the Riverdale Gazette. Talk to us a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah. So the Call the Dynasty Podcast team. It's similar to 10 Questions with Wiggy. For those of you who watch Felger and Maz, you can literally ask us anything, fantasy related, family related, relationship related.
Ooh.
Friendship related,
right.
Work related, money related, job related, sexual orientation related, literally anything. And it really depends. This segment depends on our listeners, and
right.
if no one wants to participate or call in, then we'll scrap it.
Right.
But we thought it might be a fun little idea, get some people involved, and have some joyous times.
Some more interaction for everybody can now participate in the show. You're if you're Coach Will or Coach Brandon, and you maybe you're only in the show during the during your interview, and you're talked about, but you're not intertwined within the show. Like, this is your way now. Everyone can participate. If Bub said fantasy related anything, and it's all the success of this is driven by you guys. So literally, as you're listening to this, as you are listening to my sexy voice right now, think of a question. Think of anything that you want to ask Bub and I. It could be, like Bub said, fantasy related. If you have maybe a question about the inner workings of the Dynasty, you have a question for me as a commissioner, or Bub as the commissioner apprentice.
Or even if it's something about science. We can do that.
Yeah, the solar system. Anything at all. When this show is over, email me or Bub, or somehow let us know and say, hey, I got a question for you. I'm going to call you and leave this question on your voicemail. And that's all you got to do is just call my cell number or Bub's cell number.
I have a question for you, Eric.
Yeah, Bubba.
So, according to the ancient Greeks and Romans, what was the furthest planet that could be seen by the naked eye?
Uranus?
No. Jupiter. Or Saturn. One of those.
One of the two.
Yeah, I forget what the real answer was.
Probably Jupiter because it's the biggest.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
But it might be too far away. But that's the type of question you can ask us.
That is the type of things that will happen.
And Eric, you
got to make it happen, though, listeners. You got to make it happen.
Am I correct in saying it can? I know you were just touching upon this. Email, phone, text. What about Twitter? Is that going to be accepted? Or
what you want to
stay off the Twitter?
Those are all ways of letting Bubba or I know that you have a question.
Okay.
But I am in person, email, whatever you want to do. Say, hey, I have a question. I'm going to call you tonight or right now.
Okay,
or tomorrow.
I like that.
So just so I know that you're calling, I don't pick up the phone. I know that you're calling for that reason, and then it will go to my voice message, and then you can just leave the question on my voicemail, and then it will get played on the air. So there you go. Another very exciting thing that I'm looking forward to, Bub, this year, and I know this has really taken off last year, was the interactive segment. We've had a good amount of guests, some possible celebrities, some not so much celebrities on the show already. We already have this season all booked up and scheduled. I like to keep all of our guests kind of secretive just because I like, you guys to kind of be, on the tip of your toes. You want to listen to each and every show, even though I know you already do, but
I let a few slip, Eric.
That's okay. I mean, if a few slip out there and here and there, that's okay. It's not a big deal, but we do have. I think you guys are going to be pretty honestly shocked at some of these guests that we got for this
flabbergasted.
Season.
Straight flabbergasted.
Without letting any more farts accidentally slip out of your butt crack, do you have any thoughts on, just without giving too specific, on like your feelings about how the guests we're having on the show?
I mean, if you thought last year, some of them were big timers. I mean, it's like 7 steps above.
Steps.
You're standing on the bottom of the staircase last year, and now you're like almost all the way to the top.
Wow.
That's how much further it is.
Wow. Amazing stuff. And I'm looking forward to it. We're getting a little street cred, Bub. A little street cred.
I know.
Pretty sure soon we're going to have like gangsta signs and whatnot. And does that have any relevance to anything at all?
No.
Okay. Let's move forward then. A few quick things I want to talk about the league. This being our first show, kind of kicking off the season here. Our sponsor, Jube's Family Restaurant, I'd like to thank them. They're obviously sponsoring the Dynasty 10 this season. And we have for the first time, a second sponsor, Tom Berkowitz Trucking. They're sponsoring Riverdale Studios, as we already know. So we got 2 sponsors here. The Keeper Selection Show, Bub. You obviously helped in first time co-hosting it with me. I thought it went great. Had a lot of fun with it. After you watched it, what did you think? Do you have any particular funny moments that really stuck out to you?
My favorite part of the whole thing was Johnny's banana collection.
Yes.
He had at least 50 bananas in his apartment.
Yes. He has quite the banana collection.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah. No, typically you wouldn't when you walk into an apartment or
a lot of bananas. A lot of bananas.
Yeah, he's a horse of a different color.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. Any other interviews that stood out for you?
I also for the first half of Whiffins,
yes,
I thought you guys were sitting cross-legged on the floor, and so I was laughing, and then I realized that you were just sitting in a chair with one of your legs crossed, and I said, well, I guess it's not as funny, but it's still funny the fact that I thought.
Well, right, and then you see,
and then Johnny popped up, and I thought he was rubbing his nipple when I guess he was holding up a knife. But I thought he was rubbing his nipple.
Yes.
And so again, it was
good stuff.
It was
Good
it was
stuff.
fun. It was funny, joyous times.
And definitely